Stephen Taylor wakes up in a dark, poorly lit room. He's naked and stripped down to a cold metal table. He's more afraid than he's ever been in his entire life. As he looks around the room, his gaze lands on a very tall man standing in the opposite end of the room by a metal desk. He tries to yell at him, but there's silence. His vocal cords had been removed, but not in a crude manner. The cut had to have been made by a high-class surgeon. Stephen notices the man is writing something down in a journal. The man then closes the journal and picks up the syringe. The syringe is filled with thick, dark, chrome-like liquid. The man starts to slowly approach Stephen. He's withering around, trying to break free from the shackles he's been put in. He looks into its dark, beady eyes. "What the hell are you?" he manages to whisper. "I am salvation given form," it replies. The creature shines a bright light in Stephen's face and holds his right arm down. Stephen is trying to scream for anyone to listen, but his efforts to save him are futile. He whispers to no one. The thing injects a viscous liquid into Stephen's arm. He blinks and wakes up in a new room. On the door, it reads, "Testing room 2, he says out loud. Stephen is taken back by his voice's sudden reappearance. He starts testing his voice by saying the names of the things he sees around the room. Chair, bed, door, camera. Suddenly, the door hisses, then opens slowly. Stephen waits in anticipation for the door to open completely. Another man or thing walks in slowly, wielding what Stephen could only describe as a futuristic water gun. The creature points this water gun at Stephen and opens fire. Stephen's head shatters and flies all over the room. He thinks he has to be dead, but he's still thinking. His head slowly rebuilds itself. It's a miracle, but something's off. He looks into the large mirror on his left. His face was contorted into amalgamation of flesh and ooze. His eyes couldn't properly open. He couldn't move his jaw at all. All he can do is scream because of the excruciating pain he's enduring. He falls on his knees and breaks down into tears. His tears flow down his face like jagged rivers of salt going between canyons of flesh. The third man walks into the room. He picks Stephen up and starts dragging him into a dark, rusty metal hallway. Stephen wants to die, but he can't. He cries more, now even more scared than before. The thing drops Stephen onto the floor and opens a hatch leading into a chute in the side of the wall. From the chute, people scream in agony, "Kill me! Kill me!" The man drops Stephen into the chute. After falling for what felt like eternity, he lands, shattering every bone in his body, tearing every ligament, exploding every organ. His body melts into the mountain of flesh he landed on. He shares the pain of hundreds of thousands of people, and they all have the same wish: to be let free of this anguish. March 20th. Dear Diary, they're dead. They're all dead. And I can't help but think that had I not prevented from joining them that night, I would be too. This is my first diary entry since the accident, and I have so much to tell you. I left the house late on Friday night as I was in no hurry to spend the evening messing around with a Ouija board. I never made it. 5 minutes from Caitlin's house, feeling a bit annoyed and not paying any attention, I stepped out onto the road. Luckily, the driver of the car that hit me managed to swerve at the last minute. I had no broken bones, astonishingly, but I took a knock to the head that made it necessary to stay overnight at the hospital, and picked up enough bruises to make moving around painful for a couple of days. My friends visited me to offer commiseration, both for the accident and for missing what they assured to me was an amazingly fun night spent contacting the spirit world. But they all seemed off somehow. A little nervous, maybe, but their laughter seemed a bit forced. Then Patrick died. We were told there was an accident in his dorm room, an electrical mishap due to faulty wiring. I was stunned and I grieved, but the others seemed afraid. The next day, Caitlin fell from a bridge in town. The day after that, Eddie was hit by a train. And yesterday, Heather choked to death in a restaurant, right in front of her parents. I am not even slightly superstitious, but I'm struggling with this. All 4 of my friends in 4 days, all of whom had conducted a seance only 2 days earlier. I don't know what to think. April 11th. Dear Diary, I haven't written in a while, but something strange happened today. After everything with my friends, my Aunt Susan invited me up to the farm. I felt it would be nice to get away for a couple of days and get out in the fresh air. I decided to meet up with Callum and Hannah, some old mates of mine. I used to spend summers with them when we were kids, and it was all fun at first, hanging out, catching up. Then they asked me if I remembered the witch's house in the woods. I vaguely recalled stories about it, ones that had freaked us out when we were little. They had found it, they said, and tonight they planned to break in and look around. They wanted me to go with them. Considering that they knew what had brought me to town, I was astonished by this and told them no way. They tried to persuade me to change my mind, first by telling me how great it would be, and then calling me a wuss when I still refused. Eventually, they got really forceful and kept saying that I had to go, and it wouldn't be any fun without me. In the end, I got angry and left. I guess they're not the guys I remember. April 15th. Callum and Hannah have been missing for 4 days now. The police searched up the house in the woods, but didn't find anything. Again, how has this happened? May 23rd. Dear Diary, do you remember David? He's the boy I had a crush on in the first year of uni. He invited me to his birthday party at his house, just us and a few housemates. I don't think we've spoken to each other in over a year, so the invitation was surprising, but I decided to go anyway. The evening was going nicely. A bit of music, a few drinks. They seemed like a nice bunch. Then David asked if we heard about the haunted video. None of us had. Some video online, he said. Supposedly it drives you mad if you watch it all the way to the end. It's already been removed from most sites. But he had found a live link. Just a bit of fun. Did we fancy it? Then something strange happened. I felt an odd sensation, as if the temperature in the room had dropped, and I suddenly realized everyone was looking at me, with the exception of David. No one was doing it directly. It was all sidelong stares and quick glances, but I was sure they were all waiting for me, my response. I didn't even hesitate. I stood up and walked straight out. I ignored David shouting to me and calling my phone. I just went straight back to my house. What is happening? May 31st. David didn't come to class this week. June 20th. Dear Diary, my old friend Kiran called me out of the blue to ask if I had fancied some urban exploration with a group from back home. They had their eyes on an old abandoned hospital in town. It would be a blast, she promised. I hung up without answering. June 23rd. That hospital burned down. 5 people died, including Kiran. July 14th. Dear Diary, the fun fair came to town this week. Apparently they have the best haunted house ride that anyone has ever seen. My phone positively blew up with invitations. I should go, everyone said. It would be so exciting. Anyway, I heard that the police are still trying to determine which of the ride's animatronics are normal and which ones have human bodies inside. Another one of my classmates, a lad called Dean, was alive when they found him. He's not okay. October 17th. Dear Diary, it's funny coming back and reading these old entries to see how and this all started. In August, my mother bought me a doll she had found at a boot sale. It was so sweet, she said. It reminded her of when I was little and I would play with dolls for hours. She thought I'd enjoy it. I immediately smashed it to pieces with a sledgehammer and burned the remains. It screamed. In September, my academic tutor said it would be both useful and fun for both of us to visit the old sewers under the cities for our architecture project. On the day of the trip, I stayed home. The 2 tunnels collapsed, 7 people died, and it took 3 days to get the others out. They said they'd seen things down there. Today I received a letter claiming that I had won an all-expense trip to Japan, including a tour to some beautiful old temples. The holiday of a lifetime. I tore it up and threw it in the fire. That one just seemed lazy, to be honest. December 23rd. Dear Diary, why me? Why is it trying so hard for me to get involved? How much longer will this go on? And what does it have in store for me at Christmas? December 24th. Aunt Jill just called me to say that little Stevie has been having nightmares about Krampus and asked if I could come around and cheer him up. She promised I'd enjoy myself. I told her to go to hell. March 20th. Dear Diary, it's been a year now since this all began. It's relentless, and I know it'll never give in. Although some attempts have felt a little desperate, I'm on my guard at all times. I don't accept invitations to anything, no matter how innocent they seem. I don't see any of my friends, and I don't watch films or play games. The internet is totally off limits. Still, I don't know how much longer my luck will hold. I've had enough, and I'm going to put a stop to it. I'll play its game, but not the way it wants. I'm not interested in being the terrified, victimized protagonist of a horror story. Now, the antagonist, on the other hand, I've bought myself a nice, sharp axe from the hardware store, and there's a campsite about 20 miles from here that's very popular with teenagers. Seems like a good place to start. And who knows, maybe I will have some fun.